mic 1, 2. Testing mic 1, 2. Is this better? It's good. Can you bring the candidate? Great. So good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. The technical team has given me the all clear. They say the sound is okay, so we want to start. We do apologize for this. All of you came before time. We want to just announce, for the sake of the camera recordings, that because we are doing a live sign language translation, we would not want people to cross the pathways of the camera. I think that's the right expression. So if you have to leave this building urgently, we would urge you to use the exits to the extreme right or left, depending on where you're sitting, so that we should, as much as possible, avoid the aisle in the middle, so that we will not disrupt the coverage of the sign language translators. And we're hoping that once we go live, there will be no break till we end. If we could with respect rise to welcome Dr. Mahama, Flag Bearer of the People's National Convention. Please be seated. Good evening once again. We welcome the flag bearer of the People's National Convention, Dr. Mahama and his spouse, to IEA's 2016 Evening Encounters. The IEA has been organizing these encounters since the year 2008, but has been at the forefront of stretching the boundaries of our democratic experience by bringing duty bearers to engage with citizens. And we've been privileged to be part of these encounters for the past few years. This program is live on television, Metro TV being the principal broadcaster, and on most televisions available in Ghana. Also live on City FM and Joy FM, and on many radio stations across Ghana and beyond. My name is Bernard Oku Able. I am your moderator for tonight. And to set the scene with our maker, and to make sure everything is all right, it is my honor to call the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, the Reverend Dr. Okuni Frimpong, to give us the opening prayer. Please welcome with a round of applause.
Please, let's remain seated as we pray. Let us pray. Our dear Lord, you have been the God, the creator of our land and its people. Indeed, you have sustained the peace, the joy, the blessings we have. We have come such far by grace and by mercy. Lord, even as we go through the process of identifying leaders to serve your own people on this land, we pray that you will journey with us, order our thoughts and our steps, bind us together as a people. Lord, show us the way, give us the future that we all desire, give us the power to get there. In a special way do we pray for your servant, Dr. Mahama, that the whole nation is waiting to hear from him. Grant him utterance, teach him what to say, and above all, give us the power to fulfill them. May God's will be done for our country. May this land be blessed. May God make our homeland Ghana great and strong. Lord, in your name we have prayed.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Philip Mpong, the General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. I will now welcome one of Ghana's best a cappella groups, Alabaster Box, to lead us in rendering the national anthem, which I would urge us to rise to observe.
God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong, bold to defend forever the cause of freedom and of rights. Fill our hearts with true humility, make us cherish fearless honesty, and help us to resist oppressors' rule with all our will and might forevermore. And help us to resist oppressors' rule with all our will and might forevermore.
Please be seated. Thank you, Alabaster Box. We now want to take our welcome address, and it is with much honor that I welcome upstage the Executive Director of the IEA, Mrs. Jean Mensah. Please welcome her with a round of applause.
Good evening, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Institute of Economic Affairs, I have the pleasure to welcome you to the first in the series of the IEA Evening Encounters for 2016. This evening, we are delighted to have with us Dr. Mahama, who will address the nation and answer the concerns of several Ghanaians who are watching and listening to this program. Of course, this is by all means a good campaign platform. We are pleased that you have all honored our invitation to be part of this democracy-enhancing event. We will also have in our midst this evening a cross-section of representatives from key interest groups, such as the Ghana Medical Association, the Ghana Federation for the Disabled, the Association of Ghana Industries, the Trades Union Congress, the National Union of Ghana Students, to mention a few. We believe that they will, during the discussions, obtain answers to questions which are of concern to those they represent. Distinguished guests, as part of our commitment to strengthening the pillars of Ghana's democracy, the IEA has since 2008 organized evening encounters for presidential candidates of parliamentary parties, political parties with representation in Parliament. The encounters provide an individual platform for each presidential candidate to outline their visions and strategies for governance and answer questions from the electorate. Distinguished guests, indeed, whilst most credible elections form an integral part of democracy, political engagement that enables the electorate to make an informed choice on election day remains essential. This falls squarely in line with the Institute's view that those who seek to govern must first subject themselves to scrutiny of the people to ensure that they understand their concerns and have the capacity to address them. Democracy is truly exercised when the electorate is knowledgeable and informed. Hence, this component of the IEA election program is designed to enable the public discern what each candidate stands for and the policy direction we envisage for this country. Further, it aims to ensure that the Ghanaians take ownership of the electoral process, as it provides a forum for demanding accountability from presidential aspirants, even before one of them is elected president. Distinguished guests, in spite of all Ghana's challenges, we have made considerable progress. The relative progress in our democracy. 6 successive democratic elections. 3 smooth transitions. Relative peace and ethnic harmony are all worth celebrating. However, there still remains more to be done. The IEA has over the last few years examined several development challenges confronting the nation and assessed the policies and programs that have been introduced to resolve them. And whilst we do not doubt the sincerity of our governments to address our critical development challenges, we are mindful that we are far from where we think we should be almost 60 years after independence. In fact, after several years of structural adjustment, debt forgiveness, liberalization, and after spending billions and billions of borrowed money, why is our core infrastructure still in rudimentary state? These are pressing and worrying questions that we send to seek answers from today. The IEA is of the view that there are huge possibilities for progress in the areas such as the economy, energy, health, governance, and education, among others. We must find homegrown solutions to the key problems confronting our nation. The electorate represented here this evening by key stakeholders, as well as the many listeners and viewers following this encounter live at home and abroad, will be seeking answers to some of their dark challenges. We know that these are issues that the PNC cares about, and we look forward to discussing the party's policy proposals. I'd like to conclude with a reminder to our political leaders that whilst they are engaged in the global contest to obtain our mandate to govern this country, we expect them to engage in the campaign process that is tolerant. We therefore hope that through this and other platforms of the IEA, the tone of the electoral campaign will center on debating policy initiatives as opposed to political attacks. Distinguished guests, the success of the 2016 election will mark 24 years of uninterrupted constitutional rule of Ghana. This will be another milestone in consolidating our democracy. I'm sure we all aspire to achieve this. And so through our collective efforts, let's work together to make this a reality. Once again, a very warm welcome to this evening encounter. May God bless us all. Thank you.
And may God bless you too. This is Jim Mesa and IEA for organizing this. I think we need to give the IEA a round of applause for their vision and tenacity in staying true to their mandate. Viewers and listeners, this is the IEA 2016 Evening Encounter. We're privileged to be watching live on TV and hearing live on radio, the first in the series. We're privileged to have the flag bearer of the PNC, Dr. Mahama. Before we officially welcome and introduce him and bring him up, I would want to quickly acknowledge a few people here with us. From the political side, I want to acknowledge Professor Edmond Dele of the CPP. This acknowledgement. Thank you very much. We're privileged to have the Honorable Freddie Blaze, the acting national chairman of the NPP, is here with us. Privileged to have the national chairman of the PNC, Bernard Mona, here with us as well. Privileged to have Minister of State and Member of Parliament, the Honorable Alassane Azong, here with us as well. And how can I forget our good old Alhaji Ahmed Ramadan, former national chairman of the PNC.
For the compromise party, Dr. Dele and Bernard Mona. And of course, my good friend, Prof. Asante is here. Thank you for coming to give me the support. And all protocol observed. I think if I'm going to mention everybody, I'll spend the rest of my time doing that. But I have only 30 minutes to say what I want to say. And so I'll begin. I want to thank even those who are watching from home for making the time to listen to us. After almost 60 years as an independent nation and 24 years of unimpeded constitutional rule. We have hit the wall in our bid to transform our nation. In terms of resources, Ghana seems to be among the wealthiest nations in the world. One of the most difficult questions to answer as a Ghanaian is, in terms of resources, what don't we have as a nation? We have almost everything, almost all the minerals, oil, arable lands, trained human resources. Name it, we have it. I'll tell you what has eluded us in the last 30 years or so as a country. It is competent, dynamic, selfless, and visionary leadership. That's what is lacking. Economic mismanagement by two political parties for the past 24 years, which has also succeeded in reducing Ghana to the present state of hopelessness and despair, economically, socially, and morally. Ghana is currently the 7th dirtiest country in the world. This is from UNICEF and WHO report 2015. I said, Doctor, don't say this kindly to myself. We are among the most corrupt and wasteful countries in the world. We are indebted to an amount of about 100 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Chairman, the misery continues and the list is inexhaustible. As a country, we do not deserve the current misery and despondency. We need to change the way we do things, which includes changing leadership after 24 years, which has been characterized by staggering mismanagement, incompetence, corruption, cronyism, and greed, among others. All those who have had a chance to rule this country within the past 24 years should be responsible for the present state of affairs. As a party, we have the solution, and this space is very limited for us to go into the details on how we can get Ghana out of the current despicable situation. I will attempt to be brief, but comprehensive. The PNC's campaign theme, New Beginnings, New Deal, and New Force, we believe can get our dear nation out of this crisis and ensure inclusive and sustainable development. What do we mean by new beginnings? It focuses on restructuring the public sector as a vehicle for driving home the goods of sustainable development. The current public sector lacks direction, lacks results achieving orientation, and does not generate value. Its interface with the private sector is weak and non-productive as partners for growth and development. We will implement a results-based transformation program and restructuring of the public sector through human and institutional capacity building of the public sector and its interface with the private sector and civil society. This will enhance productivity and development along all sectors such as food and agriculture, environment, water and sanitation, hygiene and energy, commerce, investment, trade and industry, among others. The New Deal focuses on the pursuance of investment in productive areas of the national economy to accelerate growth. This includes providing an enabling environment with sufficient technical support for what we call the primary root of the economy. For the PNC, the primary root of the economy includes, among others, cocoa farmers, actors in the shea industry, farmers of staples such as rice, maize, cassava, yam, etc., fisher folks, including those in aquaculture, coconut farmers, and productive SMEs. We shall put emphasis on value chain enhancement to increase productivity and generate jobs. The third arm of the campaign theme, New Force. This identifies the 18 to 35-year-olds and the party's desire to target and empower the youth and constitute them into a socio-economic force to drive change and economic transformation. This idea is based on the fact that the youthful population of the country has so much potential and resourcefulness, which is left untapped and is seriously holding back development. This new force can be catastrophically, this new force can be catastrophic in its current state. In other words, if we don't do anything about the disappointment in our youth, then we have what we call maybe African uprising rather than Arab uprising. We saw it in Tunisia, we saw it in Egypt, and Egypt is still reeling from young people getting up after being frustrated. And that's what I'm talking about. Now let's look at the key factors in our economy. We shall highlight some of the targets rather concisely to demonstrate the problem, and we shall set out to solve them for the people of Ghana. We have dropped to the lowest embarrassing level as a nation, and that is very shameful. Agriculture and food security. The dismal growth of agriculture under the current system, with a GDP contribution of just around 20% or lower, and a remote third on the GDP as well as a shameful growth rate of 0.0% in the last fiscal year, presents us with a rather sad situation. For a country like Ghana, with massive agricultural potential, investment, and development can be guaranteed if we take agriculture very seriously. In other words, we are saying that the rather slow pace of agriculture modernization, with its attendant negative effects of weak value chain addition, has led to a low number of participants in an otherwise huge sector. Many people can be involved in agriculture if the incentives were great. For example, I was a young doctor at 27 when Achampong brought his Operation Feed Yourself. And I wanted to go abroad. And I knew that sitting in Alergo, graphic in those days got to Alergo in 30 days. So by the time he would get there and I would apply, they've already interviewed the candidates. So I decided to take advantage of a government program, Operation Feed Yourself, to add value to my life. So I'm convinced that if there are government programs such that the young people can see, without being coached, that they can get value addition, they will go into it. Our hard-working farmers suffer huge losses anytime there are higher yields in a particular year. The reasons accounting for these are lack of guaranteed markets and challenges of storage. These were to discourage expansion in production. We will banish this problem by providing, as we have already said, guaranteed markets and prices for their produce. Furthermore, we will also introduce the silo storage system consistent with the vision of Osagyefo for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah across the country. Incidentally, you see some of them collapsing as you travel around Ghana. This will put an end to the perennial threats of food shortage in our country. And who knows, we might start exporting food once again in the shortest possible time. In 1976, as I was leaving Ghana, Ghana had just become an exporter of rice. I was one of those rice farmers. A PNC government will also pursue a coordinated and systematic program of a gradual shift away from rain-fed agriculture and adopt a climate-smart approach to this sector. This shift will see the pursuit of production techniques and to produce goods that are friendly to the environment. The second dimension, that is collection. At this level, a PNC government will do the following. 1. Provide incentives for more private participation in waste collection. 2. Widen and intensify the scope of the National Bin Program with emphasis on waste separation by households and commercial entities. In India, this gives some people work to separate the waste into biodegradable and not non-biodegradable. And indeed, some people got busy doing that. Introduce a National Sanitation Guards program that will police our environment to ensure enhanced sanitation. More importantly, we will cause to be passed a National Sanitation Act with deterring sanctions. I see people throw things about, and I always said, if somebody arrested them and they were prosecuted, maybe next time they won't do it. Employment and the youth. Unemployment, and particularly youth unemployment, is the great or the bargain, for sure. The PNC government will also set up a National Labor Office to provide accurate and up-to-date statistics on labor. There are no reliable data in this direction, which makes it difficult to even plan. In saying this, we are aware of the support given to the Ghana Statistical Service to undertake some study in this regard. But our contention is that this is not enough, and more so, there is so much on the plate of the service to be able to continue providing up-to-date data on labor at any point in time. The Labor Office will also be responsible for providing employment information to the public, as well as offer career and employment guidance and counseling to those who wish to enter the labor market. A PNC government will also, as we have said before, erect growth poles around which major cottage industries will evolve. For example, the border towns. You can take one as a growth pole, for example, and you should be able to establish in that town a market system for Ghana for exportable products. For example, we have timber, and we can produce furniture. So at the market such as at the border, what you are going to do is sell what we have. This group also identifies areas. For example, areas where you may set up a factory, like we had the cotton factory in the Tumu, because in that area they farm cotton. So it becomes a catchment area for people in that area from moving into the cities and clogging and creating slums. So this idea of group poles is to identify areas where you can put strategically factories that will keep the people from coming down to Accra and Kumasi. Let's look at education and training. Education and training will be made more functional and relevant for the world of work. Education will broaden and deepen innovation, creativity, and problem-solving skills. This will be driven by science and technology and will be based on evidence. Building a national innovation culture will be a critical aspect of the PNC educational system. To this end, the PNC government will pursue an accelerated science and technology program. This will see the establishment of a national science and technology village in the nature of the Silicon Valley of the USA. And national service personnel, before they join the service, will be encouraged to bring the interface between industry and entrepreneurs on the one hand, and the Center for Scientific and industrial research on the other, so that the many inventions and ideas by Ghanaians will begin to see the benefit of implementation. We will establish a research and development fund, R&D, in the national budget. Several years ago, I think 2008, when we last analyzed it, we were talking about 0.03% of GDP for this research and development. I can say categorically, because we don't have research and development fund, the boys in magazine, or the men, Massey magazine, they developed a prototype of a car. And guess where it is being developed finally? Abroad. Because we don't have the money to support this type of development. Now, the other area we have concern about is accessibility to education is yet another concern of the PNC. Accessibility comes in two forms, physical and financial. We will continue to expand infrastructure at all levels of our educational system. We, as part of our efforts at ensuring affordable education, especially at the tertiary level, will set up a mixed scholarship portfolio scheme. This will contain grants, bursaries, loans for the different categories of students, and funding for this scheme will be 30% of the portion of the annual budget funding amount. That's the oil money we're talking about. Allocated to capacity building. Additional resources will be sought from corporate and philanthropic entities. Let me also emphasize that the PNC is still committed to our 2008 manifesto pledge, and indeed the constitutional injunction of a free 12-year elementary education that includes senior high school. This is in our constitution. So if we are not doing it, we are failing ourselves, because we wrote the constitution, nobody wrote it for us. Teacher motivation is also a key to quality delivery of education, but details of that are captured in our manifesto soon to be launched. Health. We have a comprehensive strategy to revamping the entire health sector. But for the sake of this program, we'll focus on the National Health Insurance Scheme. We all know the terrible state of the scheme as it is today. This restructuring will lead to strengthening and expanding to ensure systemic efficiency. In the process, we shall set up an independent health maintenance and monitoring agency to monitor, maintain, and review processes and contents of the scheme. Corruption. Ghana is among the world's most corrupt and wasteful nations, and this unenviable position seems to be getting worse and worse by the day. Our search reveals that between US $3 billion and US $4 billion is lost annually through corruption. We have also realized that much has been lost in the past 5 years through manipulation and violation of the Public Procurement Act to offer undue advantages to kith and kin and cronies. Sole sourcing has become the norm, and that is the beginning of the inappropriate manipulation, violations, and corruption. We shall review the Public Procurement Act and ensure transparency and strict compliance with the provisions of the Act. The mode of appointment of management and staff of Public Procurement Authority will be reviewed to ensure quality, neutrality, efficiency, and incorruptibility. We shall decouple the office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice and make the Attorney General Director of Public Prosecution to prosecute all those who are looting our monies. We shall also, as part of the fight against corruption, resource agencies such as the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice in the shop, your organization. I don't know whether when you were there, you were adequately resourced, but believe you me, we would adequately resource it, because it's an important part of our national life. Yes. Beyond the institutional reform is also the attitude of leadership. We shall live by example. We have done it before, and we'll do it again. When Dr. Hilary Leman was removed in the coup d'etat for corruption, I stand here to tell you that none, not a single one of his ministers, was convicted for corruption. Even though those days, the courts we had in Ghana, I call them kangaroo courts. But what happened when NDC 1 gave way to MPP? The Minister of Finance, his deputy, Minister of Trade, and some others were convicted for causing financial loss. That's another name for corruption. Energy. The drain on the economy, on business, social services, and national growth and development through energy deficits over the years cannot be underestimated. Companies have collapsed, jobs have been lost, and the economy distressed because of lack of expertise in the management of the energy sector. The solution is not in the knee-jerk power barges which we have seen. Was the promise to Ghanaians 4 years ago an expensive and dubiously acquired power barge? Did you tell Ghanaians that you lacked innovative ideas to solve the energy problem? The introduction of the power barges is not just a knee-jerk approach, but a lazy and inconsiderate approach to kill Ghanaians with unbearable tariffs. The PNC will develop a national energy consumption profile, invest in emerging efficient renewable energy options such as solar, waste to energy, wind, and ultra-efficient mini hydro. Communities with the lowest intensity energy consumption derived from the National Energy Commission consumption profile will reduce the burden on the national grid by shifting to efficient renewable energy options such as solar. A municipal waste generation profile, MWGP, will be developed. It will be useful in building waste-to-energy plants in communities with excessive waste generation, such as Accra. This approach will improve the energy mix and promote development through green, reliable, and affordable energy delivery. Oil and gas. The People's National Convention's policy on oil and gas is mounted on 3 frames. 1, institutional arrangements for the management of oil and gas. 2, transparency and accountability. And 3, fiscal sustainability. At the level of institutional arrangement for the management of oil and gas, the PNC will strengthen the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, to facilitate the process of capacity building, public awareness, and transparency. We will create an additional exclusive transparency agency charged with contracts and procurements within the oil and gas sector. The PNC will also strengthen the governing boards of the state-owned enterprises, SOEs, and insulate them from government-vested interests so that they can be more effective in their oversight roles. We shall also outsource recruitment by SOEs to reputable and independent recruitment firms to reduce political cronyism. More importantly, we will separate the Attorney General's Department from that of the Ministry of Justice. I've already alluded to that. In respect of transparency and accountability in this sector, the PNC will mandate all public office holders and politically exposed persons to fully declare and publish their assets. This, in particular, will apply to all government appointees, directors, ministers, members of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. If you are here and you are on that committee, what shall we are coming? You will declare your assets. Let me digress here a little bit. Ghana has 26 gold mines. Ghana has 0% shares in any of those gold mines. Our parliament divested our interest in those gold mines. We will also mandate that information and public documents, including those related to contracting processes from the oil and gas sector, should be made accessible, whereas those like bidding documents and geological data will require a minimal fee for access. In other words, the others will get it free. But if you're looking for this, because you will be looking for it to enhance your own business. More so, the issue of beneficial ownership will be addressed by ensuring that companies that seek to bid for public contracts must fully disclose their owners, and false information on beneficial ownership shall be criminalized. We shall also ensure that oil and gas contracts are subject to the Public Procurement Act. At present, the final decision on the award of oil blocks rests with the Minister of Petroleum. That's too much power in one man's hand. We will change this arrangement to ensure transparency. We further will ensure that all funds to and from SOEs must pass through the consolidated fund to allow for parliamentary scrutiny. A PNC government will also ensure the directors and officers of SOEs are individually liable for criminal prosecution in case of suspected malfeasance. This is meant to promote effective transparency and oversight. Finally, there shall be enhanced internal control mechanisms by SOEs by allowing the Public Services Commission to appoint members to the boards of these bodies rather than the President. Ladies and gentlemen, on the issue of fiscal sustainability in the oil and gas sector, a PNC government will draft a Fiscal Responsibility Act that establishes, among others, provisions on budget and expenditure coherence, debt ceiling, that is capping national borrowing to prevent credit excesses that will lower Ghana's credit rating. We have seen it happen, which in turn forces the use of savings from, for example, the stabilization fund and the revision of the tax regime to favor local companies vis-a-vis international corporations. Ladies and gentlemen, we will also enhance the capacity of the Ghana Revenue Authority to periodically audit international oil and gas corporations to verify if the profit extraction as declared is accurate. Finally, and I think if you're a foreign company and you are being fair with Ghanaians, you shouldn't have fear for this sort of openness. Finally, we shall establish specific oil and gas revenue tax in addition to the existing corporate income tax. This will avoid tax evasion and capital flight through oil and gas corporations. Personal responsibility. Kwame Asari was jailed 30 years in Harvard for stealing a mobile phone, a handbag, a piece of cloth, net value 180 Ghana cedis. Anas Arengia Anas has shown that our justice is for sale. We have a system where those who loot are held in high esteem. Valdis Dombrovskis, a former Prime Minister of Latvia, resigned when the roof of the supermarket collapsed, killing 54 people. He said he took political and moral responsibility for the disaster. In Germany, Christian Wolff resigned from high office of president in 2009. put on trial for corruption because his friend was alleged to have paid for his hotel room and his food, total value 700 euros. In the United States of America, President Nixon stepped aside from high office of U.S. President after the Watergate scandal. Even about a month ago, in San Francisco, USA, the police chief for the city resigned as chief when one of his police officers shot and killed a black woman driving a stolen car. It is this kind of taking personal responsibility and abhorring wrongdoing that I'm offering myself as President of Ghana. In conclusion, the details of the PNC's national strategy can be found in our manifesto. It is at the final validation stage, which will be ready for launch shortly. It is a problem-solving, innovative approach that will mobilize and leverage on the nation's resourcefulness for an accelerated and inclusive growth and sustainable development. Ghanaians are fed up with excuses, empty and unfulfilled promises, incompetence, and lack of dynamic, selfless, visionary leadership. After all, it is our destiny. Working together, Ghana can rise again. Let's go for the PNC. We have a unique and inspiring proposition to transform the fortunes of this country. The new beginnings, the new deal, the new force. The PNC, the new force, and Edward Nasigri Mahama. 3 short, new way. Thank you very much.
If it's a standing ovation, let's do it properly. Listeners on radio, viewers on television, that was the flag bearer of the PNC, Dr. Edward Nasigri Mahama, giving us a truncated version of the PNC's manifesto and his reason why we should vote him President of Ghana in 2016. We will now proceed to the interactive segment of the program, and I will take this privilege as the moderator to fire the first question. Doc, it's good to see you. Good evening. In 1996, when I was a Form 1 boy in secondary school, we were on the ballot box. By 2008, when I was going for my master's degree, we were still on the ballot box. It's 2016. I have graduated. I have a wife and 2 children. What do you have to say and show to the electorate that you haven't already said? That's my question.
Thank you. I don't have to speak now. The electorate have seen me up front and personal. It is difficult to be in Ghana without putting your hands in the cookie jar of the state. I can say, when my clinic was audited by the National Health Insurance Team in 2011, the recommendation was that I was one of the clinics showing integrity of the clinic. And for good reason. I have said that that system, if it was going to collapse, the National Health Insurance, it will either come from providers who are cheating the system, or beneficiaries who are misusing the system, or the managers who are also cheating the system. Now, if the NHIS has given me this clean bill of health, and my message to Ghanaians has been, choose leaders who will do what I counted out. Those leaders who will say, this is wrong, I'm not going to tolerate it. And so, my party is telling the whole of Ghana that this is the real person for Ghana. You've been rejecting him, but we will give it on last year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now take some questions. So, Imani is one of the leading think tanks in Ghana. Franklin Kujo is the executive director. He will ask the first question.
Dr. Mahama, let me congratulate you. You stayed the course. It's good to have you back. But let me just also applaud you for your stakeholder approach to funding education, particularly the private sector approach. I think that is wonderful. And you did note right that the levels of responsibility are right. However, I also note that you've made about 84 promises this year. If you recall, the MDC made 540 promises in their and only 12 of them are measurable, actually with some timelines. We have an infrastructure deficit of $10 billion US. If I give you $3 billion US today, which is what is lost to corruption in right labels, which of these 84 promises you think is
Thank you.
Certainly, I have offered to solve the power crisis, and that doesn't take a junior evening. My premise for that is that we saw Ghana Telecom, which wasn't doing well, the political side. Vodafone has taken it, is doing very well. So, yes, the energy sector, because that has a cascading effect. You know, as I said, factories closed down because they were not producing well. And some factories that started producing, they lost their market share. I mean, if people are coming from Cote d'Ivoire to buy your goods, and you are not supplying the market, they go somewhere and they find it. So factories are closed because of all this. So the energy sector is the area that I want to tackle because it will lead to job creation.
Thank you for the answer. Since you strayed into energy, let me bring in the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, with this question.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to have this opportunity. We talked about solving the energy sector challenges. One of the major challenges is fuel insecurity. Either VRA doesn't have money to buy fuel, or the sources of fuel supply are limited, and even with their limitation, irregular. Next year, we need $1.18 billion US to buy fuel. Franklin was talking about $3 billion. This is what we need for fuel. Generation projects, distribution projects, about $4 billion US. Given the mandate to govern this country, how will you solve the problem of fuel insecurity? Since it is one of the major challenges that we have to address if we have to supply unreliable, uninterrupted power to our people.
Thank you.
Post has some storage facilities, but I think it is not enough. Also, we know we are going to start producing gas, and we.
Is it a good arrangement, first of all? Because you just spoke about storage. Post is a publicly owned storage facility. Is this BDC arrangement something you want to keep, or do you intend to change that?
Well, part of it is I think after the 2000 elections, we were paying higher tariffs for to retire toll debt, and toll has not, I don't know what the complaint that people talked about when they came to power, say it's a constitutional matter. So I was thinking that we say something different from all these issues that have already been handled. For example, inequality is a cause and a source of corruption, and also a result of corruption. What are you going to do that will reduce the inequality such that people will not be tempted to be corrupt, people will not blame poverty as a cause of corruption? You have Article 71 officers who earn more than permanent full-time workers. You have parties who appointing members of, they are party members of boards of directors who earn more than permanent salaries. What are you going to do with that? Your parliamentarians stand quite high on the president, so they are not very effective in parliament. And how are you going to change the attitude of Ghanaian public officers so that corruption will reduce? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a quick announcement. Please keep your questions to 30 seconds. And please keep the mic not too close to your mouth so that we don't get the puffing sound for the listeners. Thank you very much.
I think the problem with corruption is that there is no real desire at the top to fight it. As I indicated in the personal responsibility segment of my presentation, elsewhere people take responsibility for even people they appoint. Now, the people that you are talking about at the bottom, they are actually victims of corruption. Because if you are one of these low-income earners and you still have to bribe your way to get your child in school, you are a victim. I think that the attitudinal change which you alluded to comes by example. I gave the example of Dr. Hillel Leman. He told his ministers when they were appointed, if I catch you, I will turn you over to the authorities. Here, because in 1981, people were shot, or 82, for corruption. So I still believe that, yes, corruption at the ports is not the same at the health department. So you cannot have one solution to it, but leadership by example is what I think is money for Black Stars. I'm a football fan, but I really don't think it's a wise use of it, because without that money, we would have another way of funding it. So yes, I think I will redirect that money. The other day, I actually heard, I think the president of one of his ministers saying that the Dutch disease is here. And I said, then shame on us, because we discovered oil and we already knew that countries that have discovered oil have abandoned agric. Now, I was pleasantly surprised when I went to the United States for a conference in Michigan State. Now, Michigan State is where they manufacture most of the cars. GM, that's why they call Detroit Motor City. The governor said his number one export is agric produce in a country where they are manufacturing cars. So I believe agric, and that's what we talked about. You know, if we do that, some of that money should even go into agric, you know, to encourage young people to get into it, like I did at 27.
Thank you very much.
From private business opportunities. And an arena takes all policies. We all know that he who wins World Cup power gets an ATM machine on his veranda. Quite apart from its polarizing effects and how it undermines efforts aimed at bringing about national cohesion, it also makes our elections a do or die affair. And that is the reason why anytime you're going to go into elections, people turn to prayer, to pray, people withdraw their savings, and people are doing all manner of things, hoarding basic foodstuffs and all that. In trying to deal with this challenge, various regimes have appointed or handpicked people across the political divide who are not so known or influential, and made them either ministers or deputy ministers and also board members. In my view, this is rather a tokenist or a very jaundiced shadow of the very proactive and practical measures that can be put in place to deal with the problem. Even though the roots of this problem also lies with our constitution, unfortunately, the Constitutional Review Commission said virtually nothing about how the problem could be dealt with. With respect, Dr. Mahama, should we give you the mandate as our president? What would be your own approach to dealing with this polarizing problem? Thank you very much.
Indeed, that will be the solution for Ghana. To put some other party other than NPP or NDC into power. I have said, and I will repeat it, that we Ghanaians have made, I think, I don't know whether Professor Jimaz is here or any of his advocates. I was called one day for an interview that he said 80% of Ghanaians take money to vote. And so we have got ourselves into a system where those who have been in power have access to the money, and that's why they're not thinking about funding political parties. I would be genuine in my appointments. I wouldn't be looking for political people per se. There are people in civil society who can run government very well. And I would say that when they have done that tokenism that you talked about, some of them end up remaining in those parties. You know the examples. I won't mention names. So actually, it's a way to get you in. And let me humbly say, in 2000 when President Kufuor was asking me to be his running mate, that was one of the difficulties I had. I said, I won't come as Edward Mahama, but I will come as PNC, so that we will put MPP, PNC policies side by side. So let's make it a political alliance. He said, well, we did an alliance with ACA and NCP. It didn't work. So I don't want to do that. But you are a good material, I want you as my advice. And I said, well, Mr. President, no, thank you. I will not turn my back on PNC. And that is something I will not do. I won't sell Ghana for cheap, I can tell you that. So, yes, if you're, they always look for people they can manipulate when they pick those things. And I think I condemn it myself.
Now, look, I want to push you a bit on this. I do appreciate the power of your example, but in the answer to both Mr. Azim's question and to Dr. Jambo's question, you keep going back to the power of your example. Beyond that, is there a specific institutional change you will make to reduce this winner-take-all syndrome that he's asking for?
Thank you. I think one area that I think we can actually do that is to revisit that provision where you must get the majority of your ministers from parliament. I think is the problem. In 1979, if you were appointed minister, you were a member of parliament, you resigned. So that somebody who can serve your constituency will come in. But we have made this into an arrangement, and so the president, in order to get what he wants done, will appoint people from parliament, and he's using them to get his majority votes. We were victims in 2000, I can tell you that. Because the MPP didn't have the majority at that time, in that particular parliament. It was 200 or so. So yes, if we change that law, I think we'll be getting somewhere.
Thank you very much. Listeners and viewers, this is the IEA Evening Encounter 2016, the first of many with Dr. Edward Mahama of the PNC. We are at the question and answer stage. We're taking questions from our audience. And we want to now bring in a security analyst from the Institute for Democratic Governance, Mr. David Agbe, who has a question for Dr. Edward Mahama.
Thank you, Dr. Mahama. I think that you've been persistent and consistent.
Your mic is on, please put it on.
Yes, I said you've been persistent and consistent. The political system is our laboratory. And I must say that since 1996, that Bernard alluded to, we have been following you closely. And I could say that, yes, you've been exceptional. But with regards to currently, we have been talking on security. Have you ever visited the current IEA to be able to find out what security policy does the PNC will have for Mother Ghana? Quite recently, some police officers have been involved in armed robbery here and there. And what is PNC policy on security-related matters?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for, Ghana deserves better than I can do, really. If Ghanaians were so loyal to Ghana and so dedicated to Ghana, Ghana would be a little paradise because God has given us everything. But is Della here? Yes, stand up. Yes. The lab will confirm that I had asked him that I wanted to visit not only Tor, the IGP, the Army Commander, and the security forces actually. So it's on my list to visit them and to see how we can. My own nurse recently suffered a burglary and injury while she was lying peacefully in her house sleeping. It's of concern. That's why when they said, name 2 policemen or how many, and they will attach me to me, I said, no. When I'm going to a political rally and you send police to guard everybody, I'm included. I will not assign to myself 2 policemen when everybody else has none. You know? So basically, yes, I think the police service needs some support. When we went to Hamlet, I went to the border and asked them, what are your problems? We have taken these people from America, and we have seen what has happened in Burkina Faso. We've seen what has happened in Côte d'Ivoire. How do we protect Ghanaians? They gave me a list. I have the tape. If you want, we'll make it available to you. So basically, I'm concerned about security, and I've been working on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will take a question from the representative from the Ghana Federation of the Disabled, Lillian Bruce Lyle. Is that the pronunciation?
Thank you. Mr. Mahama, I wish to congratulate you. I hope by next November we'll see you. Well, the cardinal objective of the Sustainable Development Goals is leave no one behind. The reality on the ground in Ghana is that disability issues are issues of afterthoughts. And as I always say that in G, as enshrined in the issues of afterthoughts as enshrined and as evidenced by the lackadaisical approach to the implementation and compliance of disability, pro-disability legislations and policies, like the Persons with Disability Act of 2006, Mental Health Act, the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, and the National Disability Policy of 2000, which causes persons with disability not to be excluded in employment, including appointments to positions of trust, education, decision-making processes, and socioeconomic participation, among others. Should you be elected as President of the Republic of Ghana on 7th November 2016, what will you put in place to address the current inequalities which have marginalized persons with disabilities?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think the important thing is going back to making sure that persons with disabilities are just as any other person, given all education and training, so they have a skill in their hand. If you study the world, Braille, for example, you know, they have an ability to develop things. They have an ability to create. But when you marginalize them by not giving them the opportunity to be in school, or taking cognizance of their special handicap and making provision for it while they are young, they will become adults and they are almost, quote unquote, excuse my word, useless. So basically, I think that persons with disability, depending upon when the disability occurs, should be taken care of in order to get satisfaction as a human being. Then they will be able to do the rest of it for themselves. So, an open, level playing field for all persons, with or without disability, is what I'm advocating.
Thank you very much. Let's take a question from the Youth Parliament. The speaker is the Right Honorable Kobe Fabian.
Thank you, Dr. Bax. Youth Parliament is looking forward to having you to talk about your plans for the youth of this country. While I'm here, I have a question for you. Youth unemployment in Ghana has reached very explosive proportions for the years. There's about 200,000 young people coming out of school every year. And it is alarming to also know that about 48% of young people 18 to 24 are unemployed. About 4 days ago, Youth Parliament moved a motion endorsing that youth unemployment is becoming a national security issue. One thing that I am disappointed when I visited your office speaking to your youth organizer was the fact that there isn't a manifesto for just a few months into elections for young people to be able to actually evaluate and analyze what plans we have for them, except the 2004 manifestos that exist. And my question is that, what would be your immediate steps to arrest the unemployment crisis in your first 4 months in office? And in doing so, with these numbers coming out of school, how are you going to synchronize the skills that they acquire in the academic institutions with the needed skills from the very limited job market so they come to some level of equilibrium?
Thank you very much.
Yes, if you heard my presentation, I said that the 18 to 35 have been identified as a new force. And I have said that each 18 to 35-year-old in my book is like an atom. It's like an atom. If you've done science, you know that atoms are the smallest particles in matter. And when you put those atoms together in a certain way, you get an atomic bomb. And when you drop it, you destroy Hiroshima. Now, young people, if they are not mobilized and encouraged to do useful things, will eventually rise up. That is why we have this policy. So we have identified that if the agreed programs that we are talking about, we can implement them. As I said, I was 27. And at that time, there were no KAs because the rice farming that was going on in the north created employment for these young girls who are sleeping on the streets in Accra. You know, not everybody would like to go into farming, yes, but you have agro-business or agricultural-related industries. You know, even, you know, when you do rice whole scale and you have a rice mill, some people have to buy it. It's a job. So we believe that through that process of improving on agriculture, adding value, the jobs will be created. And with regard to my manifesto, I just said it here that it is at the validation stage and will be shortly done. And there's something in there for you, considering that in our team, we have already identified them as either an asset or a liability, depending on how we treat them.
Not to overstrate the issue, but he was specific, he wanted what you would do within the first 12 months. And then the second part of the question had to do with the skills gap. So are you saying that the agreed answer addresses both?
No. In my presentation, I said that we will link industry and training, supply and demand, so that what we are saying is that young people, in fact, I have said somewhere that our educational system has not taught us to make use of what we have. If you are a child growing up in the cocoa growing area, you are going with your father to the cocoa farm, the beans, what can you do with it? The pod, what can you do with it? You know? So linking what we study in school with what we have in our environment is one way. But within the first 12 to 24 months, we said we'll have the youth unemployment. Because you know farming is a seasonal activity. We are in the second rainy season for the south, you know. And if you have decided to do a tomato farm or rice farm or whatever, you'll be benefiting. I'm also working with a gentleman, I'll mention his name. He's had a memorandum of understanding with UBS and TEC to get some of their students who are in agri-related businesses to come to a land he's developing in the north, 1,000 hectares, to understudy him, because he has calculated that somebody who comes there and learns what he is offering can make in his first year out of school about 90,000 Ghana cedis. There's no job that is going to give you that kind of money. And I've already said that I went to America. My wife is here, she will testify, with money in my pocket from rice farming after only 3 years. So there are businesses that people don't know about, nobody has told them, and they haven't looked at it from that point of view, you know. And that's what we want to do.
All right. Thank you very much. We will now take a question from the Environmental Service Providers Association.
Good evening, sir. I'm Raymond Yai. I'm representing the Environmental Service Providers Association. And I was so enthusiastic and so excited to see you address capturing issues of sanitation. But it's so disheartening about knowing that you're the seventh greatest country. You captured the fact that you inculcate into our sanitation system waste collection from source or separation from source. And then you also captured the issue of already existing tankers, people who arrest. If you're given the mandate to actually become president of this country, I would like to start from the basics where you speak of widespread of sanitation education among the citizens of this country, what you do differently. Capturing the arrest of littering in the country, I want to know what deep research you've done into the arrest and the prosecution processes. First of all, that has to do with perception, that's the education. Boiling down to the fact that you spoke about waste to energy. The collection stage, which has to do with our members and waste companies. We want to know if you have any policies in place on tax waivers for logistics for waste sanitation provision for the country, because that's also contributing so much into delivery of waste services in the country.
Thank you very much. You've asked two questions about our arrest regime and then tax rebate. So I think that's enough.
Thank you very much.
The research with the arrest regime is something I lived through. When we were growing up, these summer people will come and you will run to sweep your yard. And so basically it was effective because you were sent and you were punished for not keeping your environment clean. And meat sellers would hide selling meat if they could. So knowing that it worked before, I'm saying that it can work again. And we are proposing that people, even in front of our clinic, I see somebody just going to try to and drop it there. And I'll go and pick it, and then the person will want to get disappear into the sky because he's ashamed that he has littered and I, the doctor, am picking it up. That's the education we are talking about. And I think I will take this education into the schools, the young people. I'll tell you a personal story again. When I brought my son, I think he was 3 years from the States. We were going home to Nalerugu. On the highway, there are no rest stops. So he said, Daddy, I want to go. I took him into the bush. He squatted for some time and said, I can't do it. Training. So we will go into the schools and teach them. You know, there was a hygiene book. I don't know who is my age here, who can tell me the name of that hygiene book. But even spitting was condemned, you know. So I think I agree with you, education is one thing. And so far as enforcement is concerned, yes, put those guys out there. There are a lot of unemployed people. You put them out there, they'll have small cameras. Everybody has a mobile phone now with a camera. If you see somebody in the train, take a picture of him. We'll drive him to court. When you do that a couple of times, people will stop doing it. I mean, you go to America, you can't do that. You go to Singapore, you can't do that. We are allowed to do the things we do because nobody is punishing us for wrongdoing.
On the second part, would you ask for a tax rebate for waste collectors?
I think I said it in my presentation. I said it in my presentation that yes, we'll give for the equipment, we'll give some tax rebates. Yes.
Okay. We have time for a few more questions. We'll take the next one from the the Ghana Association of Biomedical Lab Scientists. The Ashanti Regional Secretary is Mr. Michael Edu Jemfi. We'll take the question from him.
Thank you, Doctor. Your presentation was quite inspiring, but me coming from the health sector, I realized that you only talk about forming independent health monitoring agency. Meanwhile, you agree with me that health practice in Ghana or all over the world now is evidence-based. And when we talk of evidence-based, it's diagnostics. Where in Ghana, the diagnosis seem to be sidelined or we have neglected it completely. Meanwhile, that is the American camp for health financing. So, respectfully, when you are giving the nod, can you tell me, or all of us gathered here, policies and programs that you will implement to strengthen the diagnostic sector of health, especially medical laboratory science, and also health financing? How are you going to do? Thank you.
Yeah. The diagnostic sector, first of all, you have the issue of training of the technicians. We have to improve that. And of course, equipment, if you run any laboratory, you know that labs have to be run on standards. Okay, standardization is another area that we have to look at because our patients bringing me lab results from laboratories that are not properly supervised. So regulation is another area that we will think of. Health financing is always a difficult issue. And that is why we singled out this National Health Insurance because at the last count, I think about 12 or 14 million Ghanaians are now supposedly registered on it. We are 27 million. So it means almost half of us are using that card. And so if that system is not working, it means that half of your population are exposed to diseases. So yes, the laboratory technicians, I think some efforts have been made. I will continue to do that because you know that the College of Health Sciences is doing some training in that area, and I will support and improve upon that.
Thank you very much. At the last of the planned questions, Mr. Ebenezer Ajiti Sosek is the Director of Health Aid Ghana. He has a question for us.
Thank you, Dr. Mahama and Mr. Moderator. We've heard not only from you, but from other political parties about targeting the youth. And we know the youth has a problem, or the youth is now a national problem in areas of unemployment. Which may explode. But if you look at 1992, you ask yourself, those who were calling youth, where are they now? And I'm now talking about older persons. It seems like we've been treating older persons in this country as a spent force. The 1992 Constitution, Article 37, 2B and 6B make provision for their rights and social assistance. But still, you don't see much. They are about 7% of the population now. We started developing policies for older people as far back as 1996. We could only succeed in 2010 for a national aging policy. the national agent has started roaring. And if I'm saying roaring, I'm saying it in terms of the way we treat our policies and laws in this country. May I ask whether you think older persons in this country qualified as a priority, especially in putting in the necessary structures to facilitate care for them and improve the quality of their life?
Thank you very much. We apologize for the break in the sound.
Yes, I tell these young people that you are not always going to be young. If you are 30, 35 and you are not contributing to social security, you're going to be an old poor man or poor woman. So actually, preparing for the old starts in their youth. And as a nation, if we have this requirement that everybody should pay social security, people in the informal sector, nobody is going after them to make sure they are paying. So we'll have a lot of old people who will be destitute. Yes, I agree. The only reason we are not talking about them now is because the younger population is the majority. But very soon, we will have that problem. And I agree with you that we need to start thinking about them. I know elsewhere what they have done, nursing homes and things like that. I certainly hope that we'll have another way of dealing with the aged and their health needs.
Thank you. We have time to throw in one or two more questions. Let me take the national president of UTAG, which is the University Teachers Association, Dr. Harif Kweku Agbanu, to pose a question quickly. Please give him the mic. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mahama, I have only one question.
You are allowed only one.
In Ghana now, the University of Ghana is said to be the only institution with the highest research output. The CSIR, government institution tasked for research, is the least. Meanwhile, socioeconomic development is linked to quality research. What plans, strategies are you proposing to affect this situation?
Thank you.
Thank you. I have advocated since 2004 that we must have an R&D portion in our national budget. Because whatever research you're going to do, it needs funding. And indeed, I went back and looked at an ECOWAS meeting in 1969, where ECOWAS was charging each member country to put a certain amount in research and development. None of those countries have done it. So I think, and we will make sure that CSIR, if they are getting any money, we get value for it. That's what I'm talking about, the institutional renewal and restructuring, because some people are just sitting there and collecting whatever money they get. They have no desire to show that they are productive. So, if we can get this R&D portion into our national budget, I'm sure we'll begin to get some money there for researchers like you to have some access to funds, so that you can do something for us.
Next question from Madam Awola.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahama. I've listened to what you said this evening, but I've heard any proposals from women and children. Is it in your manifesto? You haven't heard anything. So if you can, you should say it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, don't let me blow my horn. Because Ministry of Women and Children, I debated with Tarzan. I said it was necessary because women were underprivileged and needed to be to have some measures taken by government to help them. So when President Kufuor announced Madam Checha as the first minister, he turned to me and said, "He's taking your policy." I said it will benefit Ghana. In our manifesto, we have something for women and children. I said, I'm an equal opportunity individual. I think everybody must we are all created the same, and we must all have opportunity. So certainly, we have programs for women and children. And in fact, yesterday I was telling my party, I said, gender balance. My national women organizer should introduce me, not a man. My chairman is sitting here. This was yesterday. So basically, I believe in women. Remember, I'm a gynecologist.
Final two questions for the president.
Yeah, okay. Gynecologist.
Well, Dr. Mahama, at the moment, we have a national political system that's based on political parties. The people are free to choose their president and members of parliament. The local government system is completely different. The people do not have the opportunity to elect their own chief executives. Neither are political parties allowed to participate in elections at that level. In the event that January 2017 we inaugurate President Mahama, what happens to the situation?
If you go back and look at my issue, my stand on this, I've always maintained that at least the district chief executive, if not the regional minister, must be elected by the people, because he is controlling the resources for the people, and yet he's not answerable to them. And I've seen district chief executives come, and within the 2-3 years, they are building hotels, they are building houses, they're taking the money meant for the district, and they are using it for their personal gain. If the people had elected him, and he was going to go back to them for another appointment, he would do something different. So for me, and I think my party supports me, that the district chief executive should be elected by the people. Yeah. And we will change how we get elected. I can promise you that.
Thank you very much.
Some people have changed when they got the nod.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Hello. I'm from the Pharmaceutical Society of Ghana. This is familiar terrain for you, Dr. Mahama. What plans do you have?
Mr. PID, can you leave me alone tonight?
What plans do you have in making Ghana a pharmaceutical manufacturing hub in West Africa?
Thank you for listeners. The question was, what plans does he have to make Ghana a pharmaceutical manufacturing hub? The sound went up. Thank you.
Actually, I was in Nigeria, and they think highly of Ghanaian products manufactured in Ghana. I think it's the ECOWAS system. And I remember talking with ministers from Benin that they must open up, because I'm optimistic that Ghana can do well when the field is level for everybody. So I think we have to go back to ECOWAS and its protocols. And I'm one who is advocating it. I remember when Professor Mills was sworn in that day or so, I was saying to him, we must remove the borders so that goods can flow freely back and forth. And his chairman at the time, Dr. Bobnaide, said, Dr. Mahama, you're asking for problems. I don't know what problems they are, but I think that if the flow of goods and services and people is free, Ghanaian companies will do very well in West Africa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mahama. My name is Apostle Samayao, MP, the General Secretary for Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council. One of the very funny issues in this country for us as religious people and also as moral people is an issue which has been always pushed under the carpet. Like tonight, I want you to bring it out, and that is the issue. And I'm asking this because I know you're a Christian and I know you are a gynecologist. What is your take about homosexuality in Ghana as a right? And I want to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As a Christian, I think homosexuality is condemned by the Bible. But I think, as also a Christian, Christ said we should love our neighbor as we love ourselves. So I love them. I may disagree with them, your lifestyle, and I have a very close friend whose son was a homosexual, and I always looked at him and loved him inside me, but felt that he was doing the wrong thing for himself. You know, as you know, being a pastor, Paul says that when we do sexual sin, it's against our own body first. So I think, and there's scientific basis which others may disagree with, it started with homosexuals. So basically, it is not a very healthy sexual practice. And I tell people who are lesbians or gays and come to me, I tell them it's not a very healthy sexual practice. If you enjoy it, do it, but you are taking the risk.
Yeah, but the question is about the right, not the morality of the practice. And I feel that is the government of what he's asking.
Yes, as you know, what I'm saying is that yes, it's their right. It's their right to do what they like with their body. I don't endorse it. I think it's wrong, and that's why I educate them and said, yeah, you are doing what you want, but it's not a healthy sexual practice. That's all I can go. Even as president, you know, I mean, God gave us rationale, and we can think for ourselves. So I'm not going to take it from somebody.
Okay. We have grilled him enough. Being a 5-time flag bearer, I think we all agree that he has shown great stamina and he has addressed our questions. So please put your hands together for him. Thank you. So what we will ask him to do is to put his thoughts together and give us his closing statement. If he feels there are T's to cross and I's to dot, after which we will take closing remarks by the IEA and we will invite all of you to a cocktail. So Dr. Mahama, if you want to stand to give your final closing comments, that would be welcome.
First, I want to thank God for keeping me healthy. I'm a very healthy person. I can stand for 4 hours and say at 71 years. That's God's doing. I also thank you beautiful people for coming to listen to me. You could have been doing something else. I'm glad you came. I have a passion for our nation, a passion unmatched by anything else. That's why I left my practice in Chicago to come back. I know this country has the potential. You are part of that potential. We have all neglected our responsibility to the nation. And so when we are complaining, Michael Jackson says, if you want to change the world, look at the man in the mirror. And that's what I always do. Before I complain against somebody, I look, am I doing the same thing? So this evening, I enjoyed your company. November 7th. Don't say, like many people have said, you are the right person for Ghana, but your party cannot win. And I tell them, on voting day, the boxes will be empty. President Mahama won't have a vote there, Nana won't have a vote there, and Mahama won't have a vote there. So if you put your vote for me, that's 1 out for me, 0 for the other 2. And I win the election. Those who tell me you can't win have this helpless mentality, where we as even Africans, we have all the resources, we're going around begging because we think we can't do it. So tonight, when you go home, if you are a lady here, tell your husband, your boyfriend, you have met Dr. Mahama, he wants your votes. If you are a man with wife and children, tell them the right person for Ghana is Dr. Mahama. I won't let you down, just like I didn't let PNC down. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The first in a series of union encounters. We'll now take our closing remarks from Mrs. Jean Mensah, after which the Alabaster Box will come and lead us in the closing anthem. And then we have a cocktail for you. So please welcome again Mrs. Jean Mensah.
been an interesting evening. I would like to thank Dr. Mahama for opening the door for issue-based discussions. I believe that you've put across a lot of issues, and I'm sure that over the next few days and weeks, it will occupy the political space. We would like to take the opportunity to invite all the presidential candidates. I think this is an independent, credible platform, and the nation and the electorate are eager to hear from all the presidential candidates, and we would like to encourage all of them to mount this platform, to present their vision on this independent, credible platform, and to answer questions from a broad section of the electorate. We hope that in the coming weeks, we will be hearing from all of them. I think next week, Tuesday, the 28th of June, we have the flag bearer of the CPP, Mr. Green Street, who will take his turn to present his vision and strategies for governing this country, and he will equally answer questions from the electorate. We'd like to invite you, and most of you have been giving invitations, and we hope that you will find the time to attend. I'd like to thank our partners who have helped make this possible. DFID, EFID, and Star Ghana. We'd also like to thank our media partners, Joy FM, City FM, and Metro TV, as well as all the other stations who have covered this event. Let the debate continue. Let's encourage an issue-based discussion over the next 5 minutes as we go to the election. Thank you so much, and you're invited to the cocktail.
Thank you very much. Our next encounter is exactly a week away. We hope to see you there. Alabaster Box, please come and lead us in the closing anthem, the national anthem, after which Dr. Mahama will be led to the cocktail, and the rest of us can join him, Dr. Mahama and his lovely wife.
God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong, bold to defend forever the cause of freedom and of right. In our hearts with true humility, make us cherish fearless honesty, and help us to resist oppressor's rule with all our will and might forevermore. And help us to resist oppressor's rule with all our will and might forevermore.
Thank you. While we remain standing, Dr. Mahama will be led by the Minister, the Chairman, to go out, and the rest of us will join. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. My name is Bernard Ablet. Good evening.
Saturday. I realized you don't talk about that. I don't know if maybe they don't manifest to it. No way interrogate that.
They give us time.
Right.